Okay, so let's take a look at what you have written here. Mm-hmm. Okay, so these are like, so your objectives. What do I want to be able to do or do better?
Mhm.
So you started with time management. Okay, because it's like, probably one thing about time management is that because we just have like 40 minutes,
Mhm.
and then it's like we want to do a lot of things over that, time period, like 40 minutes. But, you know, it's like over time, you will, once you get used to that 40 minutes, you will be able to like
Mhm.
adjust, and then, um, and be able to complete all the tasks in that 40 minutes
Mhm.
period for the middle school.
Yeah.
So, how will I recognize success? Accomplishment of tasks inside and outside of the classroom on time and well before deadline. No rushing on 11th hour. Feel less stress and calm disposition.
Because when you're not able to manage your time, you feel like stressed, and then you are not maintaining a calm. You just you start as you noticed in the beginning, and you advised me also that I started to rush through them.
Mm.
I will not wait for student to answer, and then I will just blurt out my answers, and then
Exactly. Yeah. Because you just want to like cover everything,
yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so actions. What methods will I use to achieve my learning objectives? Let us take a look at that. Start early as Are you procrastinating though?
Sometimes I do. I go in so much unnecessary details
Mhm.
that this is kind of focus on essentials thing.
Mhm.
That instead of focusing on so many different things,
Yeah.
just focus on to the point thing.
Yeah, because
Yes.
sometimes it's like you have a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
And then it's like it's so very hard to narrow down those ideas because you seem to like everything that you have in mind.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's always good to like narrow it down to the most essential. So a very good way to do that, focusing on the essential, is to go back to the standard.
Exactly. This
Okay.
is the thing that I now keep it in my mouth. You gave me a very good tip
Mm.
that focus on the standard and then focus on today's objective.
Mm.
And in the light of that, just focus on all the essential things. Is it good to know? Is it necessary to know, or is it
really essential?
really
No.
essential to know?
So stick on the essential.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because sometimes it's like, especially in science, there are just like a lot of things that are, that are nice to know,
Mhm.
that kids like find amazing, and like, oh, some when you mention it to them, and that makes us forget the essential sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's okay to give them like some readings on nice to know, or just like, you know, asking them like science updates maybe sometimes what they read, but you still have to like focus on the essential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think being students are your audience as well. So
Exactly.
you sometimes you tend to like make them like, oh, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's like, how do you call this, because we know as teachers, we know our content. We have a very good knowledge of the content.
Mhm.
But then the thing is, you always think of how will I make the students learn this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's actually like the process.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so and then check student work at the same day. What's the purpose of checking that one?
Like for example, especially for quizzes and for exit slips, you should be providing feedback at least at the same day or the next day, so that students it's just used as a formative assessment.
And it's like, yeah, assign a timeline to each task.
This is for my own purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Break big tasks into small manageable chunks and assign specific time to each activity I design. Oh, okay. And it's also nice it's essential to like do something like KWL,
Mm-hmm.
or what the students know, what the students want to learn, something like that. So that, sometimes we do teach them and we are like repeating what they know already.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do KWL, it's like, oh, okay, So they know this already. Then I just need to focus on this, and that would like short time. I mean,
Right.
cut the time.
Right.
There
Right.
you go. So the reasons. Check the student work at the same day. That would be to give them, like um, a feedback right away, and then you will be able to know if the students, get that concept, like
Yeah.
all of them got it. Then you don't have to repeat it,
Yes.
and that would cut short on time.
Yeah.
And then assign a timeline to each task. Yeah, that's very important. Like sometimes the students would be like procrastinating if don't give them a timeline. They will just like, oh, maybe she will not be collecting it today or later on. So they just like procrastinate. So that's a good one.
Yeah.
Place a timer. yeah, I used to do that in my early years of
Yeah.
teaching. I just like put a timer there, just enough for me to hear it, and not for students to hear. There you go. Okay, good. Time management. Eventually anyway, even without all those, you will get used to the tempo or to the rhythm of the classroom. Then you will be able to, improve on your your time management.
Yeah. I think I have also seen you that when you have more time, you fill it with some meaningful activities, and then when you do not have time, you just focus on the
On the
very
essential.
essential, and then you
Yeah.
just wind it up.
Yes.
So I think this is something that comes with mastery.
Yeah. Right away.
Yeah.
Okay. And then creative lesson plans. Differentiated instruction according to student levels, leading to inclusion for all. I think we had this. We had a lot of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you were able to come up with some differentiated instructions, and that can still be improved. But just the idea that you came up with that technique or method, that's already like great.
Yeah.
Post all assignments and classwork on school website to be used 24/7 by all students. Yeah, and most of the schools though they have that.
They have this. Yeah.
And then we are required as well.
Yeah. And also, I was thinking that when next time I'm aiming to, there are so many mobile and iPad apps for like gamification of material that I can maybe next year I can research on some of that, some of those, and like bring them into my practice. So
Very
it will
good.
be
Yeah, because kids now are just like into those games, and so they might as well come up with a way to use, their wizardry in gaming into something like that helps them in their lesson.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And for example, for natural resources, I saw an app that was to collect. It was called Eco Gamer, and it was about making a energy independent city. So students were using the resources and using the minimum resources to build a whole city with 60 buildings and one electric grid and one blah 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 and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting and creative, as
Is
well
it-
as a lot of learning.
Is it like the Green City thing?
Yeah, it was called Eco Gamer, and
Eco
it was
Gamer?
really a very good learning for natural resources.
So that's one thing very good now, because because the kids are actually just like doing so many games, so they might as well use their mastery in gaming for a productive
Yeah.
purpose.
And then we
Yeah.
don't have to tell them to study; they just can come on their own.
Come under it. Yeah, very good. Very
Yeah.
good. That's like creativity. Yeah. Okay, so creative lesson plans. And do not, like, for example, for coming up with creative lesson plans, do not be hesitant to come up with something. It's like sometimes you will be thinking like, oh, maybe it's not of their age level, something like that. But there's always a way to make it simple or to modify it to fit their level.
Yeah.
So
And I remember what we did with the simulation of evolution of activity. It was so fun for the kids, as well as a lot of learning as well.
exactly. Yeah. So do not for creativity comes with you experimenting on many things. So if like what I do when I'm thinking of a new lesson, and then suddenly it just you just think about it, and then suddenly there's like an idea that comes into your mind. You just have to write that right away, and then later on you go back and develop it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's because now I think we are becoming more risk takers
Mm.
rather than before. I would not like to take so many risks and experiment in teaching.
Exactly. But you can actually like do many things to be creative as long as it address the essential concepts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like for example, was it last Friday when 7B they played some games, and this is in relation to muscular system, like it's like muscles come in work in pairs, and that your tricep and biceps like work together and they just like play the game, and then they demonstrated all that. So it's like don't be afraid to be creative, as long as you tell them this is in relation to our lesson, and then you can ask how is it related to our lesson, something like that. Okay, don't be afraid to experiment. Okay, and then you tell me about your pursuing a master's degree. What is your purpose in pursuing a master's degree?
Maybe you can call me crazy, but it's just for more learning through my certification, as well as because China's requirements are to have a master's degree in education. So yeah, I just want to do it.
Yes. Okay. Then that's good. And then later on, you will realize that it will really help you a lot in your teaching as well.